Bedtime Stories for My Sister Juniper. The Taboo Tale by Rudyard Kipling. The most important thing about Tegumai Bopsulai and his dear daughter Tafamai Metalumai was the taboos of Tegumai, which were all Bopsulai. Listen and attend, and remember, O best beloved, because we know about taboos, you and I. When Tafamai Metalumai, but you can still call her Taffy, went out into the woods hunting with Tegumai, she never kept still. She kept very unstill. She danced among dead leaves, she did. She snapped dry branches off, she did. She slid down banks and pits, she did. Quarries and pits of sand, she did. She splashed through swamps and bogs, she did, and she made a horrible noise. So all the animals that they hunted, squirrels, beavers, otters, badgers, and deer, and the rabbits, knew when Taffy and her daddy were coming and ran away. Then Taffy said, "I'm awfully sorry, Daddy, dear." Then Tegumai said, "What's the use of being sorry? The squirrels have gone, and the beavers have dived, the deer have jumped, and the rabbits are deep in their buries. You ought to be beaten, O daughter of Tegumai, and I would, too, if I didn't happen to love you." Just then he saw a squirrel kinking and prinking around the trunk of the ash tree, and he said, "Hush! There's our lunch, Taffy, if only you'll keep quiet." Taffy said, "Where? Where? Show me, show!" She said it in a raspy, gaspy whisper that would have frightened a steam cow, and she skittered about in the bracken, being a excitable child, and the squirrel flicked his tail and went off in large, free, loopy leaps to about the middle of Sussex before he ever stopped. Tegumai was severely angry. He stood quite still, making up his mind whether it would be better to boil Taffy, or skin Taffy, or tattoo Taffy, or cut her hair, or send her to bed for one night without being kissed, and while he was thinking, the head chief of the tribe of Tegumai came through the woods in all his eagle feathers. He was the head chief of the high and the low and the middle medicine for the whole tribe of Tegumai, and he and Taffy were rather friends. He said to Tegumai, "What is the matter, O chiefest of Bopsulai? You look angry." "I am angry," said Tegumai, and he told the head chief all about Taffy's very unstillness in the woods, and about the way she frightened the game, and about her falling into swamps because she would look behind her when she ran, and about her falling out of trees because she wouldn't take good hold on both sides of her, and about her getting her legs all greeny with duckweed from ponds and places, and bringing it sploshing into the cave. The head chief shook his head till the eagle feathers and the little shells on his forehead rattled, and then he said, "Well, well, I'll see about it later. I wanted to talk to you, O Tegumai, on serious business." "Talk away, O head chief," said Tegumai, and they both sat down politely. "Observe and take notice, O Tegumai," said the head chief. "The tribe of Tegumai have been fishing the Wagai River ever so long, and ever so much, too much. Consequence is, there's hardly any carp of any size left in it, and even the little carps are going away." "Quite so, O Tegumai," said the head chief. "What do you think of putting the big tribal taboo on it, so as to stop every one from fishing there for 6 months?" "That's a good plan, O head chief," said Tegumai, "but what will the consequence be if any of our people break the taboo?" "Consequence will be, O Tegumai," said the head chief, "that we will make them understand it, with sticks and stinging metals and daubs of mud, and if that doesn't teach 'em, we'll draw fine freehand tribal patterns on their backs with the cutty edges of mussel shells. Come along with me, O Tegumai, and we will proclaim the tribal taboo on the Wagai River." Then they went up to the head chief's head house, while all the tribal magic of Tegumai belonged, and they brought out the big tribal taboo pole made of wood, and with the image of the tribal beaver of Tegumai and the other animals carved on top, and all the tribal taboo marks carved underneath. Then they made the tribe of Tegame to come up with the big tribal horn that roars and blores, and the middle tribal conch that squeaks and squawks, and the middle tribal drum that taps and raps. They made a lovely nose, and Taffy was allowed to beat the little tribal drum because she was rather friends with the head chief. When all the tribe had come together in front of the head chief's house, the head chief stood up and said and sang, "O tribe of Tegame, the Wagai River has been fished too much, and the carp fish are getting frightened. Nobody must fish in the Wagai River for 6 months. It is taboo, both sides and the middle, on all islands and mud banks. It is taboo to bring a fishing spear nearer than 10 man-strides to the bank of the river. It is taboo, it is taboo, it is most specially taboo, O tribe of Tegame. It is taboo for this month, and next 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 month. Now go and put up a taboo pole by the river, and don't let anybody pretend that they haven't understood." Then the tribe of Tegame shouted, and put up the taboo pole by the banks of the Wagai River, and swiftly they ran down both banks, half the tribe on one side and half on the other, and chased away all the small boys who hadn't attended the meeting because they were looking for crayfish in the river. And then they all praised the head chief and Tegame Bopsulai. Tegame went home after this, but Taffy stayed with the head chief because they were rather friends. She was very much surprised. She had never seen a taboo put in anything before, and she said to the head chief, "What does taboo mean exactly?" The head chief said, "Taboo doesn't mean anything until you break it, O only daughter of Tegame. But when you break it, it means sticks and stinging nettles and fine freehand tribal patterns drawn on your back with the cutty edge of mussel shells." Then Taffy said, "Could I have a taboo of my own, a little small taboo to play with?" This is the picture of the tribal totem pole after it was put up on the banks of the Wagai River. That fat thing at the top is the tribal beaver of the tribe of Tegame. It is carved from lime wood, and although you can't see the nails, it is nailed on to the rest of the pole, which is all in one piece. Below the beaver are 4 birds, 2 ducks, one of them looking at an egg, a sparrow bird, a bird whose name I don't know. Below them is a rabbit, below the rabbit a weasel. Below the rabbit is a weasel and is a fox or a dog, I am not quite sure which, and below the dog 2 fishes. On the other side of the pole is an otter, a badger, a bison, and a wild horse. The rope that steadies the pole is looped around next to the fishes. This shows that the taboo is a fish taboo. If the head chief wanted to taboo the tribe killing rabbits or duck, he would have put the rope next to the rabbit or duck carving, and so on with the other animals and birds. Then the head chief said, "I'll give you a little taboo of your own, just because you made up the picture writing which will someday grow into the ABC. You remember how Taffy and Tegame made up the alphabet? That was why she and the head chief were rather friends." He took off one of the magic necklaces. He had 22 of them, and it was made of bits of pink coral, and he said, "If you put this necklace on anything that belongs to you, your own self, no one can touch that thing until you take the necklace off. It will only work inside your own cave, and if you have left anything of yours laying about where you shouldn't, the taboo won't work until you have put that thing back in its proper place." "Thank you very much indeed," said Taffy. "Now, what do you truly suppose it will do to my daddy?" "I'm not quite sure," said the head chief. "He may throw himself down on the floor and shout, or he may have cramps, or he may just flop, or he may take 3 sorrowful steps and say sorrowful words, and then you could pull his hair 3 times if you like." "And what will it do to my mummy?" said Taffy. "There aren't any taboos on people's mummies," said the head chief. "Why not?" said Taffy. "Because if there were taboos on people's mummies could put taboos on breakfasts and dinners and teas, and that would be very bad for the tribe. Long and long ago, the tribe decided not to have taboos on people's mummies, anywhere, for anything." Well, said Taffy, do you know if my daddy has any taboos of his own that would work on me? Supposing I broke a taboo by accident? You don't mean to say, said the head chief, that your daddy has never put any taboos on you yet? No, said Taffy, and he only says don't and gets angry. Ah, I suppose he thought you were a kitty, said the high chief. Now, if you show him you've got a real taboo of your own, I shouldn't be surprised if he put several real taboos on you. Thank you, said Taffy, but I have a little garden of my own outside the cave, and if you don't mind, I should like you to make this taboos necklace work. So if I hang it up on the wild roses in front of the garden and people go inside, they won't be able to come out until they have said they are sorry. Oh, certainly, certainly, said the head chief. Of course you may taboo your own garden. Thank you, said Taffy, and now I will go home and see if this taboo truly works. When she got back to the cave, it was nearly time for dinner, and when she came to the door, Tashemai Tewendrao, her dear mummy, instead of saying, Where have you been, Taffy? Said, Oh, daughter of Tegumai, come in and eat. Same as if she had been a grown-up person. That was because she saw the taboo necklace on Taffy's neck. Her daddy was sitting in front of the fire waiting for dinner, and he said the very same thing, and Taffy felt most important. She looked all around the cave to see that her own things, her private mendy bag of otter skin with the shark's teeth and the bone needles and the deer sinew thread, her mud shoes of birch bark, her spear and her throwing stick and her lunch basket, were all in their proper places, and she slipped off her taboo necklace quite quickly and hung it over the handle of the little wooden water bucket that she used to draw water with. Then her mummy said to Tegumai, her daddy, quite accidental, Oh, Tegumai, won't you get us some fresh drinking water for dinner? Certainly, said Tegumai, and he jumped up and lifted Taffy's bucket with the taboo necklace on it. Next minute he fell down flat on the floor and shouted. Then he curled himself up and rolled round the cave. Then he stood up and flopped several times. My dear, said Teshemai Tewendrao, it looks to me as if you had broken somebody's taboo somehow. Does it hurt? Horribly, said Tegumai. He took 3 sorrowful steps and put his head on one side and shouted, I broke taboo, I broke taboo, I broke taboo. Taffy, dear, that must be your taboo, said Teshemai Tewendrao. You'd better pull his hair 3 times, or he will have to go shouting until evening, and you know what Daddy is like once he begins. Tegumai stooped down, and Taffy pulled his hair 3 times, and he wiped his face and said, My tribal word, that's a dreadful strong taboo of yours, Taffy. Where did you get it from? The head chief gave it me. You told me you'd have cramps and flops if you broke it, said Taffy. He was quite right, but he didn't tell you anything about sign taboos, did he? No, said Taffy. He said if I showed you I had a real taboo of my own, you'd most likely put some real taboos on me. Quite right, only, daughter dear, said Tegumai. I'll give you some taboos that will simply amaze you. Stinging nettle taboos, sign taboos, black and white taboos, dozens of taboos. Now, attend to me. Do you know what this means? Tegumai skiffled his forefinger in the air snaky fashion. That's taboo on wriggling when you are eating your dinner. It is a most important taboo, and if you break it, you'll have cramps, same as I did, or else I'll have to tattoo you all over. Taffy sat quite still through dinner, and then Tegumai held up his right hand in front of him, the fingers close together. That's the still taboo, Taffy. Whenever I do that, you must stop as you are, whatever you're doing. If you are sewing, you must stop with the needle halfway through the deerskin. If you're walking, you stop on one foot. If you're climbing, you stop on one branch. You don't move again till you see me go like this. Tegumai put up his right hand and waved it in front of his face 2 or 3 times. That's the sign for carry on. You can go on with whatever you're doing when you see me make that. Aren't there any necklaces for that taboo? Said Taffy. Yes, there is a red and black necklace, of course. But how can I come tramping through the fern to give you a still taboo necklace every time I see a deer or a rabbit and want you to be quiet? Said Tegamai. I thought you were a better hunter than that. Why, I might have to shoot an arrow over your head the minute after I had put a still taboo on you. But how would I know what you were shooting at? Said Taffy. Watch my hand, said Tegamai. You know the 3 little jumps a deer gives before he starts to run off, like this? He looped his forefinger 3 times in the air, and Taffy nodded. When you see me do that, you'll know we found a deer. A little jiggle of the forefinger means a rabbit. Yes, rabbits run like that, said Taffy, and jiggled her forefinger in the same way. Squirrels a long, climby up twist in the air, like this. Same as squirrels kinking round trees, I see, said Taffy. Otters a long, smooth, straight wave in the air, like this. Same as otters swimming in a pool, I see, said Taffy. And beavers, just as if I was smacking somebody with my open hand. Same as beaver tails smacking on the water when they're frightened, I see. Those aren't taboos, those are just signs to show you what I am hunting. The still taboo is the thing you must watch because it's a big taboo. I can put the still taboo on too, said Teshumai Tewindrau, who was sewing deerskins together. I can put it on you, Taffy, when you get too rowdy going to bed. What happens if I break it? Said Taffy. You can't take a taboo except by accident. But suppose I did, said Taffy. You'd lose your own taboo necklace. You'd have to take it back to the head chief, and you'd be called just Taffy again, and not daughter of Tegamai. Or perhaps we'd change your name to Tabamai Scalamuzai, the bad thing who can't keep a taboo, and very likely you wouldn't be kissed for a day and a night. Said Taffy, I don't think taboos are fun at all. Well, take your taboo necklace back to the head chief and say you want to be a kitty again, O only daughter of Tegamai, said her daddy. No, said Taffy, tell me more about taboos. Can't I have some more of my very own, strong taboos that give people tribal fits? No, said her daddy, you aren't old enough to be allowed to give people tribal fits. That pink necklace will do quite well for you. Then tell me more about taboos, said Taffy. But I am sleepy, daughter dear. I'll just put taboo on anyone talking to me till the sun gets behind that hill, and we'll go out in the evening and see if we can catch rabbits. Ask Mummy about the other taboos. It's a great comfort that you are a taboo girl, because now I shan't have to tell you anything more than once. Taffy talked quietly to her mummy until the sun was in the right position. Then she waked Tegamai, and they got all their hunting things ready and went out in the woods. But just as she passed her little garden outside the cave, Taffy took off her taboo necklace and hung it on a rose bush. Her garden border was only marked with white stones, but she called the rose the real gate into it, and all the tribe knew it. What do you suppose you'll catch? Said Tegamai. Wait and see until we come back, said Taffy. The head chief said that anyone who breaks that taboo will have to stay in my garden till I let him out. They went along through the woods and crossed the Wagai River in a fallen tree, and they climbed up to the top of a big bare hill where there were plenty of rabbits in the fern. Remember you're a taboo girl now, said Tegamai when Taffy began to skitter about and ask questions instead of hunting for rabbits. And he made the still taboo sign, and Taffy stopped, as if she had been all turned into solid stone. She was stooping to tie up a shoestring, and she stayed still with her hand on the string. We know what kind of taboo that is, don't we, best beloved? Only she looked hard at her daddy, which you must always do when the still taboo is on. Presently, when he had walked a long way off, he turned round and made the carry-on sign. So she walked forward quietly through the bracken, always looking at her daddy, and a rabbit jumped up in front of her. She was just going to throw her stick when she saw Tegamai make the still taboo sign, and she stopped with her mouth half open and her throwing stick in her hand. The rabbit ran towards Tegamai, and Tegamai caught it. Then he came across the fern and kissed her, and said, That is what I call a superior girl-daughter. It's some pleasure to hunt with you now, Taffy. A little while later, a rabbit jumped up where Tegemai could not see it, but Taffy could, and she knew it was coming toward her if Tegemai did not frighten it. So she put up her hand and made the rabbit sign, so he should know what she wasn't in fun. And she put the still taboo on her very own daddy. She did, indeed she did, best beloved. Tegemai stopped with one foot half lifted to climb over an old tree trunk. The rabbit ran past Taffy, and Taffy killed it with her throwing stick. And she was so excited that she forgot to take off the still taboo for quite 2 minutes, and all that time Tegemai stood on one leg, not daring to put his other foot down. When he came and kissed her, then and threw her up in the air, and put her on his shoulder, and danced, and said, "My tribal word and testimony, this is what I call having a daughter that is a daughter, O only daughter of Tegemai." And Taffy was most tremendously and wonder-hugely pleased. It was almost dark when they went home. They had 5 rabbits and 2 squirrels, as well as a water rabbit. Taffy wanted the water rat's skin for a shell purse. People had to kill water rats in those days because they couldn't buy purses, but we know that water rats are just as much taboo in these particular days for you and me as anything else that is alive. "I think I've kept you out a little too late," said Tegemai when they were near home, "and Mummy won't be pleased with us. Run home, Taffy. You can see the cave fire from here." Taffy ran along, and that very minute Tegemai heard something crackle in the bushes, and a big, lean, gray wolf jumped out and began to trot quietly after Taffy. Now, all the Tegemai people hated wolves and killed them whenever they could, and Tegemai had never seen one so close to his cave before. He hurried after Taffy, but the wolf heard him and jumped back into the bushes. Those wolves were afraid of grown-ups, but they used to try to catch the people of the children of the tribe. Taffy was singing the water rat and singing to herself. Her daddy had taken off all taboos, so she didn't notice anything. There was a little meadow close to the cave, and by the mouth of the cave Taffy saw a tall man standing in her rose garden, but it was too dark to make out properly. "I do believe my taboo necklace has truly caught somebody," she said, and she was just running up to look when she heard her daddy say, "Still, Taffy, still taboo, till I take it off." She stopped where she was, the water rat in one hand and the throwing stick in the other, only turning her head towards her daddy to be ready for the carry-on sign. It was the longest still taboo she had had put upon her all that day. Tegemai had stepped back close to the wood and was holding his stone throwing hatchet in one hand, and with the other he was making the still taboo sign. Then she thought she saw something black creeping sideways at her through the grass. It came nearer and nearer, then it moved back a little, and then it crawled closer. Then she heard her daddy's stone throwing hatchet whir past her shoulder just like a partridge, and at the same time another hatchet whirred out from her rose garden, and there was a howl, and a great big gray wolf lay kicking on the grass, quite dead. Then Tegemai picked her up and kissed her 7 times and said, "My tribal word and Tegemai testimony, Taffy, but you are a daughter to be proud of. Did you know what it was?" "I'm not sure," said Taffy, "but I think I guessed it was a wolf. I knew you wouldn't let it hurt me." "Good girl," said Tegemai, and he stooped over the wolf and picked up both hatchets. "Why, here's the head chief's hatchet," he said, and he held up the head chief's magic throwing hatchet with the big greenstone head. "Yes," said the head chief from inside Taffy's rose garden, "and I'd be very much obliged if you would bring it back to me. I came to call on you this afternoon, and accidentally I stepped into Taffy's garden before I saw her taboo necklace on the rose tree. So, of course, I had to wait until Taffy came back to let me out." Then the head chief, in all his feathers and shells, took the 3 sorrowful steps with his head on one side and said, "I broke taboo, I broke taboo, I broke taboo," and bowed solemnly and stately before Taffy till his tall eagle-head feathers nearly touched the ground, and he said and sang, "O daughter of Tegemai, I saw everything that happened. You are a true taboo girl. I am very pleased at you. At first I wasn't pleased because I had to wait in your garden since 6 o'clock, and I know you only put Tabu on your garden for fun." "No, not fun," said Taffy. "I truly wanted to see if my Tabu would catch anybody. But I didn't know that a little Tabu like mine would work on a big head chief like you, O head chief." "I told you it worked. I gave it you myself," said the head chief. "Of course it would work. But I don't mind. I wouldn't to tell you, Taffy, my dear, that I wouldn't have minded staying in your garden from 12 o'clock instead of only 6 o'clock to see how beautifully you kept that last still Tabu that your daddy put on you. I give you my chiefly word, Taffy, that a great many men in the tribe wouldn't have kept that Tabu as you kept it, with the wolf crawling up to you across the grass." "What are you going to do with the wolfskin, O head chief?" said Tegamai, because any animal that the head chief threw his hatchet at belonged to the head chief by the tribal custom of Tegamai. "I am going to give it to Taffy, of course, for a winter cloak, and I'll make her a magic necklace of her very own out of the teeth and claws," said the head chief. "And I am going to have the story of Taffy and the still Tabu painted on wood on the tribal Tabu count, so that all the girl daughters of the tribe can see and know and remember and understand." Then they all three went into the cave, and Teshumai Tewindrau gave them a most beautiful supper. And the head chief took off his eagle head feathers and all his necklaces, and when it was time for Taffy to go to bed in her own little cave, Tegamai and the head chief came in to say good night, and they romped all round the cave and dragged Taffy around the floor on a deerskin, same as some people are dragged about on a hearthrug. And they finished by throwing the otter skin cushions about and knocking down a lot of old spears and fishing rods that were hung on the walls. At last things grew so rowdy that Teshumai Tywindrau came in and said, Still Tabu on every one of you. How do you ever expect that child to go to sleep?" And they said the really good night, and Taffy went to sleep. And after that, what happened? Oh, Taffy learned all the taboos, just like some people we know. She learned the white shark taboo, which made her eat her dinner instead of playing with it, and that grows with a green and white necklace, you know. And she learned the grown-up taboo, which prevented her from talking when Neolithic ladies came to call, and that, you know, comes with a blue and white necklace. And she learned the owl taboo, which prevented her from staring at strangers, and a black and blue necklace goes with that. She learned the open hand taboo, and we know a white necklace came with that, which prevented her snapping and snarling when people borrowed things that belonged to her. And she learned 5 other taboos. But the chief thing she learned, and the one she never broke, not even by accident, was the still taboo. That was why she was taken everywhere that her daddy went.